8 minutes past 7. Welcome back to Sabahul Muslim on Radio Islam International. Humor in South Africa. Do we use it as a coping mechanism? Do we use it effectively as a coping mechanism? Do we overuse it? Do we underuse it? We know that humor ought to be like salt in the food, not the meal itself. You can't put too much of it. You spoil the food, or you put too little, and then the food doesn't have the flavor that it needs to have. They say that humor is one of the greatest tools that South Africans use in dealing with almost every challenge. It's almost become for some a South African way, because we've gone through so much as a country, coming from the apartheid era and everything after that. But in your personal life, in your professional life, in your own community, to what extent is humor used as a coping mechanism? How has humor got you through a difficult situation? Sometimes we laugh our way through pain. We laugh at ourselves. We laugh at others. We constantly hear people say that, don't take yourselves too seriously. Laugh at yourself sometimes. It's good. Laughter sometimes, gets the juices flowing. And it helps you to cope with difficult situations and painful situations and tense situations and anxious situations. So in 2018, there was the publication of Martin and Ford, and they described the three top humor theories. First, they say relief theory focuses primarily on the motivational mechanisms of interpersonal needs. So the humor provides relief of tension. They say it's almost like a hydraulic engine, with laughter serving the function of a steam pipe pressure valve. Pent-up pressure is relieved through laughter. So you may be stressed because of work. You may be stressed because of finances. You may be stressed because of crime. You may be stressed because of what is to come, uncertainty, and you need a release valve. The muscular and respiratory processes involved in laughter serve the important role of releasing pent-up nervous energy. Many of us relate to high anxiety situations where a joke feels like a much-needed outlet. Sometimes in a very tense discussion, and then someone just makes a joke. But it's got to be, very timeous. It can be very irritating if someone makes a joke at the wrong time, when you want to have a serious discussion and then everybody just loses focus and attention. The joke has got to come at the right time. So that's the one thing. It releases tension, individually or collectively. If you see things are getting a bit heated between two individuals, the third one makes a joke, and it kind of releases the tension in the air. But it's also an ego defense. It enables people to perceive sometimes the comical absurdity in highly challenging situations. So it will serve as a defense mechanism, firstly, and then as a way of coping with adversity. So how do you use or misuse or not use or overuse humor? In whichever way. I mean, we try and have an honest discussion. We don't want you to only give us the correct answers. You or anyone that you know, how do they correctly use, constructively use, overuse, underuse, misuse? Humor in South Africa is one of the greatest tools in dealing with any and every challenge we face. How has humor gotten you through a difficult situation? That's what we're asking. You can WhatsApp us on 072 786 1548, and we will have the discussion around your thoughts, inshallah. The question is also up on the Twitter and Facebook accounts. So if you prefer, you can respond via those platforms. Right, coming up on the program, in a bit, we have our hadith for the morning. Then, closer to 20 past 7, we speak to Jesse Copeland. We'll be talking about two cities in Colombia and whether they provide for us a model that will prove that when it comes to stricter gun laws, it actually brings down gun crime. This is Jesse Copeland from the Bekikisa Center for Health Journalism, who will talk to us. Then we talk about the situation in Leicester. There's an increasing number of incidents of tension between Muslims and Hindus. There are allegations that this is all motivated by the Hindutva supremacism ideology and agenda. In the third hour of the program, we talk about construction mafias causing billions in losses If you don't know what they are and who they are and how they operate, then listen out for that interview. And right towards the end of the program, we speak to Yasir Abba, who's a tour guide at Mount Kilimanjaro. They're about to get high-speed internet connection. Yeah, even there, internet connection. So nowadays, there's hardly a place where you don't go, except any place in South Africa where there's load shedding. Yeah, so most places now, even remote places, you get good internet connection. We'll also talk about the behavior of animals and plants during spring, as our theme discussion for this entire week thus far has been around spring. So we'll talk about that in the third hour of the program. Your contribution to any of the topics that we are discussing or any other topic you feel we need to touch on is most welcome. That's why we have the WhatsApp line. You can WhatsApp us on 072 786 1548. 14 minutes past 7, time now for this morning's hadith. We are still on the chapter on restoring harmony between people, reconciling differences between people. Today it's hadith number 249.
Hadith discussions on Sabahul Muslim with Maulana Sulaimaan Ravat.
عن أم كلثوم بنت عقبة بن أبي معيط رضي الله عنها قالت: سمعت رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول: ليس الكذاب الذي يصلح بين الناس فينمي خيرا أو يقول خيرا. متفق عليه. وفي رواية لمسلم قالت: ولم أسمعه يرخص في شيء مما يقوله الناس إلا في ثلاث، تعني الحرب والإصلاح بين الناس وحديث الرجل امرأته وحديث المرأة زوجها. Kulthum bint Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt radiyallahu anha narrates, I heard the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying, that person is not considered to be a liar who speaks a lie in order to reconcile between people by conveying something good or saying a good word. This narration is in Bukhari and Muslim. Then in the narration of Muslim, there is more detail where Kulthum further says, I did not hear Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam giving a concession in speaking a lie when conversing with people except in 3 instances. The first during war, the second, when reconciling between people, and the third, when a husband converses with his wife or she converses with him. So Kulthum, the narrator, she accepted Islam in Makkah. Her father was Uqba ibn Abi Mu'ayt, a great and fierce enemy of Islam. She migrated to Medina Munawwara in the 7th year of Hijrah, and she was married at different times to different Sahaba, among the great Sahaba. Zayd ibn Haritha radiallahu anha was martyred in Muta. Then after him, Zubair ibn Awam. Then after him, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, Amr ibn al-As. And she has narrated 10 ahadith. In this hadith, basically, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam permitted a person to lie if lying would reconcile between two people. Ordinarily, lying is a great sin. It's a sign of a hypocrite. It leads you to many other sins. But it's permitted in certain specific instances. If you have to reconcile between two people, you tell the one, that other one actually, when you talk to him privately, he has a lot of good to say about you. You're trying to narrow the distance. Unity is important for all of us to prosper and to succeed. During the times of war, when it is necessary, it will be permitted to lie because then there's general benefit for the believers. It will drive fear into the enemy. You exaggerate your numbers. You make them think that they've suffered heavy casualties. And when it comes to marriage, it's permissible for the husband and wife to lie to each other on those matters that will strengthen the bonds of marriage. So if the husband has more than one wife and the wife says, am I your most beloved? He said, yes, my darling, you're my favorite wife. Those kind of things, not the kind of things where it will be detrimental to lie. Marriage is so important. It's the cornerstone of society. And sometimes honest answers in a marital dynamic can cause problems. Some scholars say here, what is permitted is an outright lie, but under these very specific circumstances. Others say no, not an outright lie, but tawriya, where you say one thing, you mean another thing, but that person will take a more immediate meaning. So, for example, you can tell him your leader has died in the same in the context of war, but you meaning an older leader, previous leader. He's obviously assuming the immediate leader. Like Ibrahim alayhi salam told the people, Inni saqim, I'm sick. He meant spiritually, I need some medication. They took the physical meaning. When Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was with Abu Bakr radiallahu anh on the occasion of Hijrah, when they were going from Makkah to Medina, they didn't want people to know who Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was because there was a bounty on his head. So Abu Bakr radiallahu anh was asked, who is this man? He said, my guide. The immediate meaning which the person asking the question took, meaning he thought it meant my guide for the road. Abu Bakr radiallahu anh meant my spiritual guide, who will guide me to Jannah. So under these very specific circumstances, to a specific extent, you are allowed to lie, whether it be a direct lie, according to some scholars, or tawriya, which is a kind of indirect lie. The speaker intends something different to what the listener understands. That's the meaning of tawriya. You have to be a bit clever. But even that, under very specific circumstances. But it just shows the importance that Islam places on reconciling between people. But you must not do it in a very clever way, not in a way where that person becomes it becomes quite obvious to that person that you're speaking a bit of a lie to try and reconcile between two people or two parties. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala grant us the ability to be keys towards goodness and locks in terms of evil. We must not be the cause of division between people. Rather, we must be the cause of unity between people. May Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala grant us the understanding. After the break, we talk about gun laws in South Africa.
This is Sabahul.